Our next guest artist is somebody very familiar within the fashion industry, working with designers such as Victoria's Secret, Kenzo, Ralph and Rucci, Tony Metachevsky. His work has been published in magazines such as Vogue, ID, Harper's Bazaar. He's also caught the attention of many celebrities, such as working with Lady Gaga, Jennifer Lopez, Uma Thurman, Natalie Portman, Kate Moss. My God, we could go on. Please take a look at some of his work.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited.
I'm so happy this time has come. I mean, we spent some time together in Paris and we really got to see you in action, which I was very thrilled about. We had the opportunity to talk to you then and ask a few questions, and we put some of the information up there about your history and where you come from and everything. But I want to delve a little bit deeper actually, just before we go live today. And tell our viewers a little bit about your time in Alexandre de Pury and what it meant to you actually in your career to get that, because it was a great start in anybody's career to go somewhere like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Alexandre was an amazing artist, an amazing hairdresser. He built really a name and an empire. He learned also from the hairdresser who I personally consider as our God of us all, because he really brought so many modern ways of thinking hair, and that is Antoine Antoine de Pury. Antoine de Pury was this hairdresser who came from Poland in 1902 in Paris, and he basically invented modern hairstyling. Very short haircut, the 20s flap look, the finger waves. He lacquered a lot of his hair as well. It's amazing that when you look at Antoine's work, it's very, very current still, bizarrely.
It's almost classic, isn't it? And that just lives on all the way through. It's the dressing of hair, which is one of the main.
I guess it's just those kind of shapes that are absolutely timeless, because they are just so in harmony with the human body. I guess. You know, that's why it lives on. You know, then there might be a lot of experimentation in the meantime, which is always very interesting. But classic just lives on. And so Alexandre learned with Antoine, as I was saying, but definitely took over as well and developed his style. Really, he was much more in the, his great time started in the 60s. So there was a lot of bouffant, there was a lot of chignon, what we call like haute coiffure française, like really high buildings of chignons. And he was also incredible with Marcel ironing. And what he brought to me, besides the technique, was also this kind of mindset that you have when you work for fashion as a hairdresser. Because Alexandre was working with, he always ran his salon, but he was in a way a session hairstylist as well. He worked with Richard Avedon and with Irving Penn and with all the greatest photographer of that time. And he was, when I got in there, he was also doing all the shows, like all the big shows in Paris, like Chanel, Dior, Givenchy, and all those very, very famous houses. So when I entered the salon and when I knocked at the door of the salon, I had no idea about this. You know, I thought it was really a hair salon. I didn't know he was working so much. He was so involved in fashion, and that was definitely an open-minder.
Yeah. So you got to work on all those shows, didn't you? With Givenchy and Balmain and Chanel, many shows, right? Over the years. What did that mean to you there? I mean, to work on those shows, was that just like another day's job, or was that like, wow, you left every show that you left, it just brought you into like an area of your expertise where it was like, wow, this is where I belong. Is it?
Yeah, it seduced me right away, because when you work in fashion, it's not real, really. It's not reality. It's the ideal of you. You kind of build this ideal, this feminine ideal, and so it's a lot wider. The what you can do, you know, the options are a lot wider than a service in a hair salon. So yeah, that's what really seduced me, and I really that's what really gets me going today still, you know, is like still, you know, try to make new propositions, you know, and try to make the fashion move on.
I think when I mean, even today, what you're going to be doing, you're going to be doing some of the work that you just talked about, which is those classic techniques and bringing them forward and putting your own slant on it. I guess I'm really excited about that. But before we go into any of that, I just wanted to ask you as well. You, after your time in Alexandre de Pury, you joined the agency Julian D's.
Yeah.
What did that mean to you? I mean, it was different direction. Was it different hairdressing? What would that mean?
Well, it was a time of change. You know, that year, a lot happened on that year. The supermodel arrived. It was the year 1992. The supermodel arrived. I mean, it's the beginning of the movement of like the supermodel. And Gianni Versace started to say, well, I don't want, because before 1992, there was a hairdresser for fashion show, and there was a hairdresser for editorial work. And Gianni Versace was like, well, I don't want to use those fashion show hairdresser and those fashion show makeup artists. I want to bring on my team, you know. I want to bring on, which at the time was Oribe and François Nars, which they were definitely more into fashion and editorial and less classic fashion shows. And so he started that, and then little by little, every season Alexandre would lose a few shows, you know, to the advantage of session hairstylist, and that's not the reason why I left Alexandre, but it just happened at that time, you know. And when I met Julian, he was already doing Comme des Garçons, but we started. Atlantis, this amazing agency had all those incredible names, including Sam McKnight and Guido and François Nars and Julian and Yannick, and it was an incredible list of names, and it just grew so quickly, you know. And then by the end of by 93, Atlantis was in charge of most fashion shows in Paris. So that was one thing, you know. For me, it was interesting because I was in a very kind of closed mindset with Alexandre, which was, you know, classical hairstyling, which I was obsessed with, but I thought that was it. I thought, you know, I didn't really see anything else. And when I arrived with Julian, I was shocked The first days I was really, really shocked. The first weeks, I didn't get it really.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, but this guy is not doing hair. He was just not doing what I learned. And so it didn't really make sense at the beginning for me. It took me some time to really get it.
Yeah.
And I remember actually the moment I got it is one day we were doing a show for was it Jean Colonna? It was a really cool show at the time, and I was doing Eva Herzegova's set, and then Julian was going to do the finishing, and so I did the set how I knew how to do it, in kind of a classical way, and then Julian came and then just kind of messed it all up. But then, it was the first time I realized that, wow, I had goosebumps, it was wow, all of a sudden it was that sexy and kind of woman that you believe on. You believe in her, she's not all like
perfectly
preppy and perfect and everything.
Contrived, almost.
She's much more kind of sexy and you believe in her. And so that was the kind of click that made me understand that there is an eye, like the eye, you need to look at the woman that you're styling hair and not focus only on the hair.
Okay, yeah.
So that was that was a great open-minder.
Listen, that leads me, it's like a little segue into another question I wanted to ask you was, you have worked on many shows, you've led so many incredible shows as well. Take me through the process from designer brief to bringing it to life. And my other question would be as well, for any session hairdressers, young session hairdressers wanting to get to work with you or getting to work in the industry, what advice would you give them? Or what are you looking for in a session, young session hairdresser?
I think we spoke about it together already, like when I was talking about curiosity, and then one of the main thing about being a fashion hairdresser is your ability to be flexible and to be able to like serve the purpose and of course make yourself happy and be satisfied of what you do, but also be there for the reason of the shoot, and that requires a lot of flexibility, which also means a very wide range of techniques and of things that you can do. I mean, basically every day you need to be ready to do anything. Anything, without even really knowing sometimes what the hair of the girl is going to be. So that means you need to have also all kinds of hair with you. But what I would suggest to a young hairdresser is really to learn how to be flexible and not to be set on one thing, because that's really what makes our job, and that's what also makes it incredibly exciting and challenging, is that you need to be ready to do anything at any time.
Tell me a little bit about the process and a little bit as well, how do you translate that to your team as well? You take the brief of the designer and you come up with a concept. I mean, do they give you carte blanche in that regard?
So, the process in a fashion show, first, you decide on a hairstyle with the designer or the consulting stylist, and you should always keep in mind that it's going to be 30 to 40 to 50 girls. Some girls are going to come very late.
Of course.
So it all depends on whether you have the girls 5 hours before the show or if you're going to have limited time. All those informations are very important to know ahead of time. and then once you consider that, and then once you just decided of the look with the designer, then it's really technical. So you just need to you just need to like kind of cut it down and explain it technically.
Okay. Very good answer. Look, what I wanted to mention was as well, there's a couple of things you have done and achieved in your life, one of which is a book. And I know how hard it is to put a book together. Very, very difficult. That's a very proud moment, right?
Yeah.
Look, why did you want to do the book? What did it mean to you?
At the beginning, I wanted to do the book because I felt like there wasn't such a book in bookstores, you know. Okay. I was looking for a kind of book that was, you know, kind of like a hairdresser's eye laid on the history of hair. Mm-hmm. You know, it was a lot of like, it was a lot of technical books, or a lot of books about me, myself, and my career. Mm-hmm. Or it was very historical, very scientific kind of book. But I wanted to do something a little bit that was kind of making the connection between key moments of the history of hair, but seen with a hairdresser's eye. Yeah. Because all those books that are absolutely passionating about history of hair are done by historians. Yeah, yeah. But I felt like, you know, having a hairdresser's eye laid on the history of hair was something very interesting.
Look, I mean, what I wanted to touch on as well. I mean, you've worked with so many celebrities, and you've had the opportunity to do that. I mean, a lot of hairdressers, I mean, that's something that they would love to emulate, or even work towards, or have the ability to work with some people like that. Gwen Stefani, I mean, you won an award for her hairstyle in one of her music videos, right? What does that look like to a normal, you know, Laurent Philippon going on set with Gwen Stefani? Are you going on there quite confident? Are you quite, oh my God, this is Gwen Stefani?
Well, it took me some time before I
felt comfortable.
Walked onto a set completely comfortable, you know.
Yeah, because surely.
It's, you know, it's you know, those women are used to, you know, look amazing, and then you have the pressure of making them look at their best, because it's very important for
your
them.
Your hairstyle lives on forever in that video.
The style lives on forever. Do you know? So it's pressure.
It's pressure, yeah.
But I mean, I feel like I put the bar really high for myself. Yeah. And so for many years, I was not completely happy about what I was doing, you know, or rarely happy about what I was doing. And so no, I guess that kept me going, and that kept me questioning myself. Yeah, yeah. And trying to get better, and still today.
Well, you certainly have.
I want to get better.
You certainly have. You're always learning, I understand that, but you have pushed things to a whole new level.
You know, I think hair is something that humbles you very much. Mm-hmm. Because it's not a precise science, and it's something that also hair is something that's alive. Yeah. And so you kind of meet a mane. Yeah. You know, and then you got to make friends with it, and you know, and then work around it, and so.
And every hair type's different as well.
Every hair type is different, so.
Look, can I ask you?
That's why it's challenging.
Can I ask you, what is your proudest moment? What would be your proudest moment?
I guess, you know, my book was something that I was really. I mean, the day I met Philip Watson at Thames and Hudson, and I remember inviting him over. I was so nervous, but in the same time, I knew I had something very interesting in my hands as a concept. Mm-hmm. And to sign up with such a prestigious editor was, I guess, something that I'm the most proud of.
Well done. Listen, tell me a little bit about today, because I know we've got to get moving. I know we're getting close to the live class, so we need to get moving. Tell us a little bit about it briefly, what you're going to be doing today for us.
I'll be doing, I mean, as you know, we asked the audience to vote.
We did indeed.
So they voted for 3 different styles. One is Marcel waving, which is a technique from Antoine, actually, for like really actually around that time was Marcel Gratto. I mean, I'll come back on the history of it, but it's a very technical thing to learn. It's not about the look really, it's really about the technique.
Okay.
The second is graphic shape, which is a very modern way of looking at chignons. So the technique is also very interesting. And then the last one is finger waves, which is basically making a beautiful design or beautiful pattern with hair. So it's like using hair almost as like paint.
Well, thank you very much. I can't wait for those classes. And I just want to say thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in. If you want to take your place, you want to join Laurent's class, you can go up onto the website. We'll put the link in the bio here or underneath the video, and you can get your ticket now and watch this master perform. If you like what you've seen, leave a comment below and subscribe to our YouTube channel.